Music thunders at the party while a married couple glides across the dance floor. He is Matt, a lawyer. She is Katrina, a confident and elegant businesswoman. While dancing, Matt asks her to cancel her trip and stay with him. Katrina replies that she must go to Los Angeles to close an important job. Her friend David arrives, joking that Katrina only likes to dance with him. He invites her to spin with Grace and thanks her for having invited him, while the shared history between the three is hinted at. In the conversation, it is revealed that they were inseparable in college and that David was in love with her, although she chose to marry Matt, creating a silent triangle that beats beneath the music. David steps away to take a call. When he returns, his face changes. He informs them that Kyle Medford has been murdered in his home. Without hesitation, he leaves the party and runs to Kyle's residence, where he finds a brutal scene. Blood is still fresh and the silence is heavy, leaving the sensation of a savage attack. David leans over the details and asserts that the crime was born of resentment and vengeance. Among the objects, he finds an antique axe soaked in blood, which they identify as the murder weapon and send immediately for fingerprint analysis. While searching, he opens a small silver box with locks of hair inside. The inscription is in Chinese. He keeps it with care, convinced that it can lead him to someone. Tension grows in the gloom of the house. In Chinatown, David meets with a friend and both visit a man named Mr. Wong. They ask if that box was ever sold there. Wong observes the metal and explains that it is very fine, rare silver that did pass through his shop, although he does not remember the buyer. He adds that such gifts are bought by wealthy men for a woman they love. When they ask him to translate the Chinese word, he says that it means Jade, the name that gives the title to the story. Shortly after, Katrina travels toward Los Angeles with the newspaper in her hands. She reads the news of Kyle's death, and her gaze lingers with too much interest. Meanwhile, Matt and David attend Kyle's funeral along with other acquaintances. Amidst whispers, Matt tells David that they have a decisive opportunity and that they must investigate thoroughly, as the case could propel him toward district attorney. David replies that he is not looking for a position. He is looking for the truth to achieve justice and catch the murderer. The conversation leaves a tense pact over the closed coffin. The next day, at the office, the police deliver Kyle's belongings. Among folders and envelopes, everyone is surprised to see photographs of the governor of California in a compromising situation with a woman. They think those images could explain the motive for the crime. David takes the photos and demands a private talk in the governor's office. Upon seeing them, the governor explodes and calls Kyle a disgusting blackmailer. He claims that he ran a prostitution ring for high-profile figures and recorded them to extort them later. He says that he has made mistakes like any man with weaknesses, but warns that if David talks, it will be his end and he will not work in California again. David returns and his boss Cliff confronts him because the governor called furious. After arguing, Cliff takes him off the case. David refuses, and after negotiating, Cliff lets him continue, but demands he not cross the line again. Later, David consults another investigator, Vasco, about the woman in the photos of the governor. Vasco reveals that her name is Patrice, a prostitute who spent time in prison. Additionally, Kyle owned a house on a remote island where illicit activities took place. With Vasco and another detective, Henderson, they travel to the property. They discover hidden cameras everywhere. In the fireplace, they find a burned tape. Vasco assures that the lab can recover part of its content. They interrogate Kyle's neighbor, show him photos, and the man identifies Patrice as a frequent visitor. Then they follow Patrice to a beauty salon in Chinatown. She detects them, panics, and runs through the crowded streets. David catches up to her and stops her firmly. At the police station, she screams and threatens with her lawyer, but David and Henderson remind her that they saw her leave Kyle's house many times, in addition to being photographed with the governor. They warn her that if the scandal leaks, she will be singled out. Trembling, Patrice tells everything. She met Kyle at a party, he knew she was a prostitute, and offered to manage her, paying her much more. She speaks of a mysterious woman named Jade. She never saw her face to face, but once she saw her from behind leaving the house. She heard the name many times and asserts that all the politicians, including the governor, asked for her specifically. She knew they were recording her, but says she could not report it. Kyle would not have allowed it, and neither would the powerful men. The word Jade remains like a blade. After the interrogation, David leaves, but his car does not respond. The brakes fail, he crosses the asphalt without control and crashes with violence. He ends up in the hospital with injuries and the certainty of sabotage to silence him. Cliff asks him to step away from the case. David rejects the idea, determined to continue. Back at the office, An assistant notifies him of a finding. A fingerprint on the bloodied axe belongs to Katrina Maxwell. David freezes and the case becomes personal. To confirm, he visits the island neighbor again with a new set of photographs. The man points to Katrina and says he saw her there several times. David leaves straight to confront Matt, informs him that Katrina's fingerprints are on the weapon, but Matt responds that there is an obvious explanation. Katrina and Kyle work on the acquisition of a shade for her museum, and that proves nothing. David replies that, despite any excuse, he must do his job and interrogate her. That night, David and Henderson arrive at Matt and Katrina's residence. She admits that she visited Kyle a day before his death to talk about business. She remembers that Kyle showed her a new axe that, according to him, came from an African tribe and asked her to hold it to feel its weight. Bosco asks if she touched anything else. Katrina says she does not remember, although she saw an African mask and is not sure if she touched it. They insist on details. If anyone can corroborate her route, if she saw Matt upon returning or if he was not there. Then David asks if she had an intimate relationship with Kyle. The question fires up Katrina and Matt, who declare the interview over, and they leave. Back at the police station, news arrives that changes the pulse. The lab recovered part of the burned tape from the island. When playing it, Kyle and Katrina appear together, clear images. David is moved and understands that Katrina was closer than she admitted. Before taking measures, his assistant tells him that Patrice called and asked to meet at a cafe, providing the address. At the cafe, David watches Patrice approach. She crosses the street with caution, but a car bursts in and runs her over. The vehicle stops, backs up, and crushes her to ensure her death, and then flees. David asks for help and launches into the chase. The city burns in a Chinese festival. Lanterns and people block the path. At full speed, he avoids flags and drums until the traffic opens. Suddenly, the attacking car disappears and reappears in an old warehouse. It rams aside, and David's car falls into the water. The aggressor escapes in a hurry, leaving a cold trail. Later, at the morgue, David crosses paths with Henderson. Henderson reprimands him for ignoring warnings and pushing forward. The argument heats up and David accuses him of acting in secret for the governor. In a later meeting with the team, Henderson asserts with harshness that Katrina killed Kyle. She has no alibi. Her fingerprints are on the axe. And now a video exists despite the fact that she denied a relationship. He adds that Katrina owns 3 cars and one matches the model used to run over Patrice. With those elements, Cliff decides to summon her immediately and the legal net closes in on her. Katrina arrives accompanied by Matt, who acts as husband and lawyer. They project a video with Kyle for her. Matt is devastated and alleges that it is not Katrina, but someone who looks like her. Henderson interrogates, "Where were you last night? Where is your black car, and in what state did they find it?" Pressure culminates when Katrina confesses that the woman in the video is her. She insists that it was a casual meeting and denies any participation in the murder. They ask about Jade. Katrina asserts that she does not know who she is and that she only went to Kyle's house once. She suggests asking the witness who saw her there, but they respond that that woman has died and that she herself is a suspect in the crime. Matt stands up furiously and announces that they are leaving. If there is evidence, let them file formal charges, but there will be no other informal talk. Back home, Matt explodes at Katrina, accuses her of betrayal and of destroying him. She responds that he cheated on her several times at the office and at home and says she has proof. She affirms that she has kept quiet all this time, but that if he wants a divorce, he can do it. Later, David reflects in his living room when Katrina bursts in. She confesses that she knows he still loves her and that he cannot get her out of his mind. When he asks her why she cheated on Matt, she admits it was a mistake that she never imagined would go so far. She swears she has nothing to do with Kyle's murder and asks him to return to her side to forget everything. David rejects her firmly and she leaves wounded, leaving a thicker shadow. Moments later, the news falls like a slab. Cliff has been murdered in his apartment. David runs and finds his boss brutally dead. His assistant whispers that everyone linked to Patrice is being silenced, probably to protect the governor. David fears for Katrina and speeds up to warn her. At her house, he runs into Matt, who is armed and demands to know if there was something between him and Katrina. David denies it and says this is not the time that Katrina's life is in danger. Meanwhile, Katrina returns, calls for her maid, and gets no response. She finds her dead. A noise freezes her. She flees, tries to hide, and calls Matt in desperation. At that instant, Matt and David arrive and discover her tied up, with an intruder attempting to kill her. In the middle of the exchange, the attacker reveals his face. It is Henderson. The fight becomes hand-to-hand, chaotic and abrupt. until Matt fires and takes him down, saving Katrina in an abrupt manner. Relief mixes with open questions. Afterward, David confronts the governor with everything he knows. He accuses him of being behind the silences and that Henderson killed to protect him. The governor denies it, says there is no evidence, and suggests that Henderson could have acted out of loyalty. He also denies having killed Kyle. David warns him that if he touches Katrina again, he will publish the photos for everyone to see. The threat remains floating like a trap. In another place, Katrina gets ready to go out with Matt. She stops upon seeing photos of herself with various politicians displayed before her. She trembles and asks where they came from. Matt reveals that he took them himself from Kyle the day before killing him. The confession falls like a gunshot. Matt explains that he had no other choice. Kyle was blackmailing him with those photos and he would never allow anyone to ruin his life. He approaches coldly and delivers a line that cuts through the air. The next time you are together, have her introduce you to Jade. She must be better than she is. Then he leaves and Katrina remains sobbing in shock, devastated because her secret has been revealed and her true identity, Jade, is exposed. Appearances sustain entire empires until the truth sets them on fire. Sometimes what is done for love or for justice only adds another form of destruction. There are no pure victims or hidden culprits, only people who decided to remain silent when they should have spoken. The last word weighs like an open sentence. If you made it this far, why don't you click on this video that I recommend next? I assure you that you are going to love it.